Y'all, welcome to Shade in the City. It's your girl Treese here, and we're here to get into our recap of season 1, episode 159 of Beyond the Gates. So, all of my Shade squad and all of my new viewers, if you have not already, please go ahead and do me a favor and hit that like button for me. And if you liking the vibe and you haven't already, please go ahead and subscribe and join the family, okay? And yeah, y'all, let's get into this recap because it was actually really good. I was here for all of the scenes. We didn't have no DNA, so that's always good. Let's get into it, y'all. Let's get shady, okay?
Like drip, I'm a skyline painter. Shade in the city, true hit like a banger. I said it, I meant it, no need for disclaimers. Haters right away, but they just false claimers. Concrete beats are heavy like cinder. Looking for one, but the streets still winning. No filters, no edits, I'm raw with my splinters. My life a movie, they watching the trailers. I'm not gonna hold you. Shade in the city, the life and the mold. You like and subscribe if you feeling the vibe. This is my word, I just let you inside. Said it, city, I'm not gonna hold you. Shade in the city, my words gon' console you. Like and subscribe if you feeling the vibe.
Kick off this episode, Nicole walks into the country club to meet Danny for breakfast or lunch. And so Danny puts her on alert that, Leslie is in the building. So she suggests, well, should we go somewhere else? And Nicole was like, nah, I belong here. Must have forgot. Danny starts going on a rant about how she's tired of running into Leslie everywhere. He said the other day, I actually almost went and put pause on her if it hadn't been for me getting that call from Anita. So Nicole was like, well, please show some self-control today. Can you do that for us? So Danny said, look, I really don't give a damn about pissing mommy and daddy off, okay? If that means showing out for my sissy, going up for you, I go hard in the paint. So they have a cute little laugh. Danny asked about how Martin and Smitty's ceremony was, and Nicole is filling her in and talking about how, it was very moving, but it was also a struggle for her, seeing as how she literally just got divorced. And Ted was also there as well. Nicole tells Danny, I just kept telling myself to stay present, stay in the moment, and not think about the day we got married and the day you found out that it was all a lie. So he was like, well, why didn't you call me? And so Nicole said, well, what do I look like, having a divorce party with somebody who just got married? That sounds wild. So Danny was like, well, if you didn't call me, who did you call? And so Nicole is hesitant to answer. And then she finally admits that, yeah, I had a weak moment. And I went over there to Ted's hotel room. So then Haley comes over and interrupts. And she was like, oh, I just want to say I heard and I'm really, really sorry. Bill told me about your divorce. And Nicole was like, and so what? You came over here to give your condolences or something? And so she was like, yeah, basically. And so Danny was like, girl, go somewhere. Go. Shoot fly. Don't bother me. Now, Leslie is on the other side of the country club at this point, and she's on the phone trying to get Eva to join her for lunch. Eva tells her, actually, I was over here down at the Uptown getting ready to order. Then Isaiah walks in, so she's like, oh, yeah, bye, mama. So Eva is asking him, well, how did your interview go at Banneker? And so Isaiah happily shares that they extended him an offer. And so she was like, oh, okay, so I'll be seeing you around a little bit more. And he said, well, honestly, I'm not too sure about that because I still haven't accepted it. I still got a lot of things I need to consider. And so Eva's like, oh, so is it something or someone you're considering? And so, she's like, oh, so you must have a bit of a past. And I was like, girl, don't you? This was probably the funniest this episode. I loved, again, Bill has grown on me, okay? We hop over to Bill's office. He has Tomas in there, and he's advising him about a case. And Tomas was like, I got it covered. And Bill's like, you don't sound too confident about that. You don't sound too sure. So Bill throws something at him, and Tomas is struggling to bend down like he 80 years old to pick it up, which makes Bill question, what the hell is wrong with you? Then Caroline comes in and she's bringing Bill some documents that he needs to sign. And so she lets Tomas know, you don't look too good. She was like, well, hopefully, your little girlfriend showing up for you will put a smile on your face. And so he's like, oh, Kat is here. And so he's like, all right, I'm going to go. He's like, cool, I'm going to go meet her. And Bill's like, nah, bring her in. I ain't seen my niece in a while. And I said, oh, so before they head out, Bill was like, oh, so what's in your bag, Kat? And so she was like, oh, it's just lunch for two. And so Bill responds, oh, I thought it might have been ice packs or something, from, for the swelling from the accident. And so Kat tries to play it off. Yes, Yes, because, Tomas got injured on a bike ride, right? Tomas tries to he's like, yeah, you know what? It's time for us to go. But not before Bill tells them that the lesson stands firm, whether it's bike riding or sundry activities. And Kat's face is hilarious. Hilarious. Okay. This was great. Okay. Kat looks at Tomas and she's like, did you tell him? And so Tomas is like, nah, I promise you I didn't. No, Bill's like, yeah, we one big happy family in this office. It ain't no reason to get bent out of shape, which has Kat completely mortified. And I said, we literally need to call him No Chill Bill. Okay. So he advises Kat, well, just take it easy on Tomas because he's working on a big case for us right now. And he said, I know you're consenting adults and what you do is your business, but try not to leave any bumps or bruises that Tomas will have to explain to the judge or the jury. And I love the fact that you can see Tim, the actor that obviously plays Bill, like, and it worked perfectly with the scene, but you can definitely see him trying to hold back the laughter as he's delivering the lines because it was funny. And I just that I can only imagine how many times they had to reshoot this scene. Luckily, it was a humorous scene, so it works. So when he does crack a smile or when he does laugh, it doesn't. But I just thought it was hilarious. So Kat is trying to leave at this point, and Tomas stops her again. So this is the second time she done tried to walk out this office. And so he's like, Bill just having a little fun. And Bill can't help but say, I'm sure you'll be happy once y'all get everything straightened out. And then, of course, that's Kat's last straw. And she tells Tomas, you know what? Call me when we can be adults. Okay. And then she walks up out of there. Now, ooh, y'all, Ponytail had me mad. Ooh, Ponytail had me. For one, Sky, I know you feel away, but I was here for June this episode. I was here for Mama June, but let's get into it. So Samantha is at Orphe Jean's again, talking to June about this work study project that she's working on for Chelsea Cat. And she tells June that, she's waiting on a friend, which of course ends up being Nathan. So he said he's happy to hear from her. And Samantha was like, oh, well, I was just trying to give you a chance to explain yourself after ghosting me. So Nathan claims, well, I ain't ghost you. I was on punishment. My daddy took my phone and locked it in his office. And so she was like, well, what did you do? And he completely jumps over that, which I clocked that. Okay. And so he jumps over that and was like, well, why would you think I would want to ghost you? And because Samantha was like, because I ain't let you smash. Nathan claims, nah, I'm cool with that. You know what I mean? I ain't that type of horny little college brother. You know what I mean? He said, I'm down to be friends. Whatever you want to do, I'm trying to do. I'm trying to meet you where you at or where you'll let me at. Okay. They're looking through, photos of hers when June comes over to take their order and Nathan kind of shoos her away. He was real rude, real disrespectful YN. And he was like, come back in a minute. So June lets him know, well, it's already been 10 minutes, young man. Okay. And you haven't even looked at the menu. So he was like, well, is it some type of rush because it ain't nobody in here? And that's when I would have said, okay, you know what? Y'all gonna need to get another server. I might just have to end my shift early because I believe in community. When they say it takes a village, don't make me have to discipline your child. Okay. It takes a village. Finally, they give June an order. So after him being, kind of snappy and disrespectful with June, Samantha, and him give her an order. And so she goes to put it in. And Nathan's like, I'm not giving her no tip. And so Samantha's like, look, she's new. Please don't try to make things hard on her. So they still at the table. He's gushing over these photos and he's about to kiss her when conveniently June comes over and spills his milkshake all over him to basically disrupt this flow. And I was here for it. Because you're moving a little fast. Slow down. Back at the country club, Leslie's over here whispering, hey, Haley. How you doing, Miss Hamilton? And she was like, come on over, have a seat at my table. And Haley said, hell to the nah. I am not, that's not what I do. I know you are not it. I might not be well liked, but I know I'm a smidgen above you. Okay. And so Leslie brings up, nah, girl, we share a commonality. Because, we're revolutionaries. Because we got behind the gates that they tried to keep us out of. And I said, Oh, wow. So Haley was like, why would I befriend someone that doesn't care for my husband? And so Leslie tells her, that's the smartest thing you can do. So Leslie basically tells her, look, you're tied to Bill, but I'm free. And so Haley's like, yeah, you're a bit of a wild card. And Leslie was like, yeah, because I make things happen. And I was just like, okay, girl. Haley was like, all the things that are coming out of your mouth are just really disturbing and sound really delusional. So Leslie tells Haley that, look, girl, I see right through you. And I know when I see time running out on a relationship. And Haley tells her, baby, you couldn't be more wrong, even though, is she? But so Leslie was like, so what's your end game? Is it the money? Is it the reputation? And she said, well, whatever you're doing, and keep it up, because it couldn't happen to a better bottom feeder like Bill Hamilton. I said, whoa, okay. So, and then Leslie said, well, should you need me, I am here to offer my expertise. And so Haley walks out, but not before warning her to stay out her way. And I said, Leslie, you over here poking the bear. And I think I seen it on Twitter. I don't think Leslie realizes that her continuing to poke and piss Haley off, Haley gonna end up making it look like Leslie is the one responsible for hurting Bill. I don't know why. I just see it, especially after watching today's full episode. I absolutely think that's her new direction. And I'm here for it. I'm here for it. If one villain can go enough to take down another villain, then damn it, I'll keep 4H. Okay. All right, let's move on. Back over across the country club. Danny asked Nicole, well, what would happen if that fire alarm wouldn't went off, girl? And so Nicole said, honestly, we'll never know, but I ain't even gonna hold you. I probably would have. I probably would have slept with Ted. So Danny said, look, girl, I understand. I didn't backslid a couple times, but she said, you know what, Nicole, you are just a little too nice. You're nicer than most women would have been. And so Nicole tried to say, well, Ted is also mourning the relationship as well. And, I thought that talking to him was helpful, allowed me to let go of some of the anger towards him. And I was able to forgive him. Then that's when Danny spots Haley and Leslie exchanging words behind him, kind of brings it to Nicole's attention. So as they're watching from across the room, that's when Nicole tells Danny that she kind of pities Leslie. And Danny is like, why? And so she brings up how Ted hooked up with her not too long ago. Danny hears this and is absolutely disgusted. And she's ready to get up and go nuck if you buck with Leslie across the room. And she's like, are you coming with me? Or you gonna let me go alone? And Nicole was like, sit your down. Okay. Danny was like, no, but you too nice. You need to say that. So she lets Nicole know that, what, Ted is giving you a hall pass to do whatever and whoever you desire. So Nicole was like, I would never use Carlton like that. And Danny was like, I ain't never say him, but I understand why you brought him up. I get it. I get it. If that just happened to be the first thing that popped in your mind, girl, I understand. So Danny reminds her that you're allowed to have friends, but Nicole is like, it's not really a good look because it's Ted's business partner. Danny said, well, you know what? If Ted has a problem with who you choose, tell him to take that up with the Department of Who Gives a Flying Fig. I said, yes, Danny, which even makes Nicole kind of chuckle a little bit. So Danny said, you gonna pick up this phone and you gonna call Carlton now. Call, ooh, when you need me, babe. We don't have to worry. We can do something. But Danny tells her she better call that man and give him an offer he can't refuse. So Nicole was like, nah, I ain't gonna do that. And Danny said, if you don't, then I'm gonna go over here and shake the table with Leslie. And I already wanted to do it anyway. So what you want to do? Of course, Nicole ain't got no choice because she don't want Danny to make a scene. Now back over at Uptown, Isaiah realized that, oh damn, I'm over here talking to you about my ex. That might not be like very good opening conversation. And so Eva mentions that, well, I just went through something as well, with Tomas. And so Isaiah was like, oh, well, he was like, yeah, my boo was named Yolanda, but, she's back wherever he was at. And he doesn't know if things, he said he don't know if things are really done between them. But he was like, and then he's like, oh, you know what? I'm sorry. Why am I telling you all my business? I really just met you, but you're just so easy to talk to. And I said, that must really suck to be the girl that is so easy to talk to and hang out with, but don't nobody want to be with you for real. I said what I said. Well, Eva makes it clear that, look, I ain't here to be nobody's rebound chick, but if you want someone to hang out with, you know, until you figure things out, then I'm down for that. And I said, I bet you are. And so Isaiah tells her, well, look, that sounds like a plan. And so, of course, they exchange contact information, but then conveniently are interrupted by Kat. Kat walks in and interrupts and tells Isaiah, don't you do it. That's just crazy. And so Eva calls her obsessed. And I said, girl, who? Was you talking about somebody else in the uptown? Because you won't talk about Kat. Isaiah's confused and he's like hoping this is some like friendly banter between girlfriends. And Kat lets him know, no, we not friends. We would never be that. So Isaiah was like, well, how y'all know each other? Then Kat is about to run down Eva's history before she decides to make her exit and get embarrassed. She can't leave without letting Isaiah know that Kat is her sister. And once she leaves, Kat tells him, look, you owe me a drink for saving your life. Okay? Because I just got you about something. You just dodged the bullets. Back at Bill's office, he's on the phone when Haley comes into the office and he's making a donation to a charity and even doubles it. I said, okay, Big Bill. And so Haley mentions how she ran into Leslie and, expresses her concerns about how diabolical she is. And she tells Bill that she's really worried because she was talking about ruining him and taking everything. And she's like, Bill, I really think she meant that. And so Bill was like, girl, I ain't worried about it. I'll take care of it. But, I keep my good eye open, but I ain't worried about her. But we all know that, hey, again, this is a scheme that Haley is setting up to come to us with the bullshit. Okay? Now, that's what I love this scene. I love this scene. Okay, I'm sorry. So we see Carlton come by Nicole's office after, she called him. And she tells him that, she really appreciates his understanding. He's like, okay, is that it? And so Nicole is tripping over her words and Carlton interrupts and lets her know that, look, I have no expectations here. Okay. But, I have known you for a long time. I always thought you was fine. You know what I'm saying? So Nicole was like, I'm just worried that if I move towards you, it will seem inappropriate. And I just really don't know how to navigate that. And so Carlton admits, I ain't trying to cross no lines either, but you could get me in some trouble. I said, good trouble. We need good trouble. I bet the neighbors know my name. Oh, drinking, scratching, yelling. Bet the neighbors know my name. Oh, telling you. Oh, just got me excited. Cole tries to get Carlton to see how problematic them being out together could be, and she worries how that'll affect his business relationship with Ted. And I love this is how this is a man's man. That man said, well, if it comes to that, I'll handle it when I get there. If I have to cut ties with Ted, and he gets my vote. I know, y'all might not agree. He gets my vote. He, again, has already, in my eyes, done more than Ted has done in the last 6 months. And what I mean is he's been there for her more emotionally supporting her than her husband has been. And that's wild. And I love when Nicole get a little bit flirty. Okay, so Nicole said, it was cute. Like you could see she had the little sexy eyes and everything giving him. She was flirting with my eyes. You know what I'm saying? And she said, well, I tend to get ahead of myself when it's something that I want. And I said, oh, Nicole. And then, she said, I like to examine every possible outcome. And Carlton said, well, you know what? You my type of, I like a woman that looks at the bigger picture, especially if I like that woman and I'm in the picture. I said, oh, now this is what I needed. This is what I need them to bring back. Okay. Good loving body, rocking, knocking boots all night long. Because I just see it. I foresee it. And it's going to be good. Okay. I can't wait to live vicariously through Nicole. Okay. And so then finally Nicole said, you know what? Well, let me take you to dinner, Carlton. And I said, and it's so funny. It was very cute. And of course we know he's going to accept, but I was laughing to myself because he gives me the vibe that he wouldn't let her. Like, even though she would take him to dinner, he gives me the vibe that he would never let her pack. We go back to Orphe Jeans where Samantha's fussing at June for ruining her date. And June brings up, well, why didn't you tell Nathan who I was? And so Samantha's like, is that why you mad? I'm upset because that don't respect you, Samantha. He ghosted you. The silence was loud. And so Samantha was making excuses and no, I really believe him. And he was on punishment. And June said, little girl, you know better. You know better. And she said, baby, you need to reach higher on the tree. I said, you better tell her something, June, because she hard-headed. She real hard-headed. So then Samantha had the nerve to say to her, you're worse than my parents because they may not want me to date, but at least they're not assaulting them. So June said, you know what? I can tell by looking at that little boy, he ain't no good. So you know what? If that's how you want to carry it and you feel like I assaulted him, well, it is what it is. Back over at Uptown, Isaiah is trying to understand the family tree because now he realizes Kat and Eva are sisters. And he was like, okay, but we not blood related. So it's cool on my end. And so he was like, all right. And so Kat was like, no, brother. Do you not understand everything that I just told you that she's done? And then she was like, she even has this whole plan where she lures men into her bedroom with books. And I was like, that is kind of true. That is kind of her thing, right? Then she brings up Tomas. And Isaiah was like, well, who is that? And Kat was like, well, that's my boyfriend. And then you can obviously see the wheels turning in his head because obviously Eva has just mentioned Tomas to him. And so Isaiah was like, well, you know, should I keep my distance? And I love the fact that he even values or appreciates Kat's opinion enough to ask. You know what I mean? And so Kat was like, I would, but you know, I gave you the info and it's up for you to decide. And so Isaiah was like, well, I think I can handle her. And Kat was like, well, watch out. Leslie is at Eva's apartment when she arrives home and she can tell that she's upset. And so Eva starts explaining how she, you know, she met someone and Kat came in and blew up her spot and told them all her truths. And before she had a chance to lie about it, has the nerve to say to her mother, you don't get that evil overnight. And she's been marinating in this for years. Pot, meet kettle. Leslie was like, oh, so Kat went in and, you know, told him everything, but she calls them lies. And I was like, again, because they're living in delusion, because we all know everything that Kat told him was 100% true. Okay. So then Leslie asked, well, what did you do? And so Eva admits, I just left. And so Leslie starts scolding her about, you know, you need to make a scene and demand what you want. Stop letting them win. And so she tells her, if you want Isaiah, you better go get him. And I said, I've never, why are we forcing ourselves on men? We have a wonderful, beautiful cast of Black women on this show. Why are we throwing ourselves at men that aren't really, you know, I'm just, if he wants her, then that's cool. I'm not saying that she can't be with him. If Isaiah wants to go after her, cool. But her chasing him, I don't like, I hate all the older women in this program keep telling these young ladies that. Stop that. That's why we need more Junes. To be like, no, girl, reach higher on the tree. The bar is set in hell. Bring it higher, babe. Just my thoughts. Then the last scene, we see Caroline come into Bill's office to collect the papers that she has had him sign. And then she was like, well, Haley, did you get that number that you needed? And so now Bill is curious. He was like, what number you talking about? And so Haley tells him, oh, it was nothing important. And then she changes the subject, how, you know, she ran into Tomas and Bill, you know, like wants to joke about how he gave him a hard time. And that was the end of this episode of Beyond the Gates. Y'all let me know what y'all thought in the comments. If you haven't already, please make sure you go ahead and hit that like button. Make sure that you comment and make sure you subscribe. Make sure you hit the notification bell so you know when I'm dropping new content, and make sure you're following us on all the platforms. This is the TikTok, the Blue Sky, the Facebook, the IG, the Lemonade, and the Twitter, the X. All right, y'all. And also, I just want to say, for any of our viewers, if you have any family in the Jamaica area, we just want to send our prayers up for everyone right now. We all know that they're dealing with a huge Category 5 storm about to hit them right now. So I just want to send my prayers and just love for everyone out there, and anyone who has family out there. We're keeping you in our thoughts. And yeah, y'all, just keep them in your prayers because Category 5 ain't good. All right. But love y'all. Be safe. And I will catch you tomorrow for 160. Can you believe we at 160, y'all? This is wild. All right, y'all. Love y'all. Bye.